Hit subscribe to the DIY Writer to support your hardworking authors and also lessen your chances of ending up as a victim in their next book. Join me at the first annual Icarus Book Convention, May 8th and 9th. This conference has a great lineup of speakers, including little old me, talking about podcasts, vlogs, and other neat author stuff. Go to Icarus, IQARUS Book Con, CON.com for more information. Hope to see you there. This is Jeff Bacon of the DIY Writer Podcast, and today we have a very special guest. He's going to be talking about a lot of different topics. It's going to be kind of interesting. He has his own book. He has a publishing company. He also has some other kind of interesting things that he does. He's a teacher. He lives in New York, which we've been kind of chatting about, which is kind of interesting. If you've ever seen the movie Escape from New York, that's where he wants to be. Robert, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you? How's everything?
I think everything's going well. You know, it's I'm sure it's cold there. It's cold here.
It is. It's actually snowing. It just started snowing about 20 minutes ago.
Wonderful. Have you seen all the conspiracy theories on why all the snow's coming and all that kind of stuff?
I haven't. Please tell me about them.
Oh my God, it's hilarious. So there's these people that are on, I think they're on TikTok or something like that. And they're like, this is manufactured snow. Watch this. And so they'll take some snow and they'll pack it up. And then they light a candle underneath and see, this isn't melting right. And it's just the most hilarious thing. And so some of these people are taking styrofoam and putting it inside the snow so that it singes. And so you have these black marks. See, this is all fake snow. And it's hilarious to watch how bad people are with props, number one. And number two, how, when you're bored and you're locked down, that anything is entertainment. That's probably my problem.
I can't get into TikTok. And I think that that's a big reason why. I remember when coronavirus first started, there was that girl on TikTok who was like, coronavirus challenge, and she licked a toilet seat and then went to jail because of it.
I didn't see that.
Right. She was on a plane and it was literally right as it was starting. And she was like, this is fun. And she literally licked a toilet seat on a plane. And she was arrested. I always worry about like the dangers of social media. Yeah, imagine that. Imagine being that dumb.
I don't care
always
what
worry.
Pandemic is there or not there. I'm barely wanting to go into a airplane's toilet.
I hate flying to begin with. So for me, it's like, I'm not going into the bathroom. Never. Not now, not never.
No, because my luck would be I sit on that toilet and the bolts will give away and just,
Yeah, I planes already have too many things on them, too many moving parts that could go wrong. To the idea of entertaining, going and sitting on a teeny tiny, I'm a big guy, so sitting on a toilet seat in a tiny crimp, I can't even wrap my head around it. Literally flying is the only thing that I fear, and just going into a bathroom on a plane is like at the top of the list.
Yeah, I'm not scared of flying. I actually kind of like flying, but the bathrooms are I can't imagine going in. Hey, look at me, I'm gonna lick the toilet. Okay. It's kind of like one of those here's your sign type things.
I was worried that was the thing that was going to catch on, but thankfully the children of TikTok have shown tremendous restraint in not doing it.
These are the same people that ate Tide Pods.
That's true. Good point. Very good point. Tide Pods do look delicious.
Oh, do they? Okay. Yeah.
I love that they say do not eat now on the box. I think that's wonderful. I hate like social media trends and stuff like that. And I see it in the writing community too. Mm-hmm. There's like so many of these writing trends and all of these things, and the horror community is big on these weird trends all the time. And some of them are fine. Like a lot of the booktubers and stuff that I follow, they do a really cool job of like their trend stuff or whatever. But like the horror community you know, in terms of like film and stuff like that too, there it's just like, well, she's a really attractive pale girl with tattoos, and she just put on a Freddy Krueger t-shirt, and then it's like, cool, 80,000 likes.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, that's nice. I don't know.
There's
Stuff like that is just weird to me.
There's a gal on Instagram who I don't know where she gets her props, but she has some really good props. And you'll see her covered in blood, and she'll have a mask, and you know, all these other things. And it's not bad. It's not great. I mean, you can tell that, you know, it's some chintzy shop where she gets the stuff. It's not like she's, you know, cruising through Hollywood and saying, "Oh, I want this and this," you know, and,
But see,
and
that's
it's some
cool.
really special effects. But and she'll get like 130,000, you know, likes, and I'm just like,
But see, like that shows commitment to me. Like, she's covering herself with blood. She's really putting some thought into it. It's more than fishnets and a Leatherface t-shirt.
well, you know, it's still fishnets, big boobs, and blood.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not.
That's true, I guess.
Yeah, it's a different fetish. Oh well. Hey, you have a book out.
Oh, I do. Yes, I do. It's Her Infernal Name and Other Nightmares. It is a collection of short horror fiction, and it's available wherever fine books are sold.
Oh, cool. So this is wide.
It is wide, yes.
All right.
It is indeed. You can get it online at all of the big retailers. And you can order it through you know, various bookstores. Some bookstores have it on the shelves, as far as I know. People have sent me a few pics of it in other states, like, oh, here it is, and that's pretty cool. But yeah, so it is everywhere.
You know, I really think the true mark of making it big is when you see your book in a pilot gas station in the middle of Nebraska.
That's
then
a new
you
one.
know it's everywhere, because you know you're on the edge of hell at that point.
Does Field of Dreams take place in Nebraska?
I thought that was Iowa.
Oh, it is Iowa.
Nebraska.
It is. No, it's Iowa. He's like, is this
Iowa.
heaven? And then Kevin Costner says, no, it's Iowa.
Yeah.
Which is where the band Slipknot is from.
Well, yeah.
That ends the amount of things I know about Iowa.
They have a state fair.
Doesn't every state?
I don't know. Not like the Iowa State Fair.
Oh, is there like a lot of cows and stuff there? Like, what do they do? I don't know. I don't know what Iowa does. Corn?
Yeah, corn and livestock, I think, mostly. I really try and not pay attention to Iowa. But, you know,
I just imagine you have like like your state has a rivalry with Iowa.
Well, you know, kind of.
Really?
A little bit, yeah. You know,
What'd
as
they do
far
to
as the
you?
colleges go.
Oh, college sport. See, this is the big difference, right? In New York, can I curse? Am I allowed to curse?
Yeah,
In New
you can
York-
say whatever the fuck you want.
In New York, no one gives a shit about college sports because we have like actual sports teams. But I understand that everywhere else in the country, like, college sports matter. And that's cool. I've been to a college sport in my 37 years.
Yeah.
And I didn't care. I've been to regular, like, actual sports too, and didn't care. Like, I went to a Giants game where they played the Patriots, couldn't give less of a shit. But I get it. I get people like college things, like the trumpets, the band, and all that stuff. Like, that's cool.
Yeah, we have the Chicago Bears and the you know, Green Bay Packers. Yeah, we don't, you know, we have a few baseball teams. I don't know if you heard of them around here. I live in Janesville, so I'm in Wisconsin, so I kind of live on the Illinois-Wisconsin border. So I'm like an hour and a half from Chicago and an hour and a half from Milwaukee and 2 hours from Green Bay.
Yeah, but that's all right. Okay, I was gonna say, like, your state doesn't have any sport. Like, you an hour.
The Milwaukee Bucks.
What's that?
The Milwaukee Bucks, the Brewers.
That's a basketball? Oh, the Brewers. Yeah,
the
I forgot. Oh, Billy
White
Brewer.
Sox, Cubs.
Those don't count. That's Illinois.
You know, I can go to Illinois in like 13 minutes, dude.
I can go to Queens in 25, and I hate the Mets. What's your point?
I like the Cubs.
No, fair enough. I don't know. The Midwest, the times that I've been to the Midwest, I've always enjoyed. But I don't know. Like, I'm not like, I used to be big into sports, and then I just, like, my dad passed away, so I don't follow sports as much as I used to. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I guess too, because I'm on the East Coast, so like we have the water here and stuff like that. I always wonder how I would do in the Midwest. Like if I would go nuts from being like, I need to see an ocean. I would really like to see an ocean at some point. But then like I understand like, and I have, friends that live in the Midwest and stuff like that, and they're like, no, when I come to New York or when I go to California, I go and see the ocean. And it's like a kind of a big thing for them. And I'm like, that's kind of cool that you can appreciate it more. Like, like I don't care about New York City. Like I don't get
Yeah.
all hot and bothered to go into the city. But when everybody else comes here, they're like, oh, Broadway show. Let's go to let's do this, let's do that. And it's like, cool, I could do that like whenever I want. So it doesn't, yeah. It's like people who live in Florida going to Disney World all the time.
Right. But dude, if you came out here and you and I hung for like, give me 5 days. Okay. In the Midwest, you might see you would see a Great Lake. Okay.
Oh, that's cool.
But what you and I would do is we go to every creepy fucking haunted place that's around here. That would be, like it's an old house. It's a sanitarium. We go up to Michigan. We go through Chicago, up into Wisconsin. There's some really creepy ass shit that's happened in some of these small towns that you'd be like, okay, maybe the Midwest isn't so desolate because it has some history here that you may Chicago's got a section of town that you can walk into that just feels evil. And it's where that murder hotel was. I've had people tell me about it.
Yeah.
I've never been there, and it's like I so want to go there. And the people who have actually gone there, I've got one guy in particular. He says you don't want to go there because you might bring something back with you. And I'm like, shit.
That's the H.H. Holmes
Yeah.
murder hotel. Yeah, I would go there in a heartbeat. I would want to stay there. I'd want to stay overnight and be like, let's go. Like I love that stuff. But no, like I feel bad. Like I don't want you to think like, oh, the Midwest is desolate, because like I've been to Minnesota, and like I don't know. I the worst state that I've seen that I've driven through. I'm going to alienate people from this state, but whatever. Kansas was like that was the worst. And like all I could think of was like I'm driving through it and I'm like, can I just get some cornfields or something? Like show me Smallville, show me where Superman lived, like give me something here.
Right.
And it was just grass. It was just green grass everywhere. I drove from New York to Colorado and stayed at the Shining Hotel with my fiance.
Oh,
and it took way too long. And she's an amazing person to travel with. Like she's a saint, but like it was just too long on the road. It was like 3 days. But Kansas felt like an endurance test. And like that was rough. But then, like I said, I've been to Minnesota, loved it, saw some water there. Like, I don't know, I was really vibing in Minnesota. And I've said to the fiance, like, we should move here because this place is dope.
Minnesota?
Yeah, I liked it. I mean, I don't like the winter. I heard the winters are just brutal, but like, yeah, I was into it. I was in Minneapolis, St. Paul. So like I was in like the city.
Yeah.
But it was cool. It was clean. It was beautiful, good food, nice people.
If I was going to be completely honest, I don't mind the cities at all. That's actually, I grew up in South Dakota. And so that's where we would go. It'd be the Twins and the Vikings as far as any professional teams. And, they had all sorts of shopping and stuff like that. But I mean, you had to drive 6 hours to be able to get someplace to go shop because, where I lived, it was like, oh, look, it is the country and it is, but we had cornfields, so we're better than Kansas.
I like cornfields, man. Like there's nothing spookier than a cornfield at night in the fall. Like that's awesome.
I've got a 20-year-old daughter who we made watch Children of the Corn, every one of them.
Nice.
Okay. She hates cornfields. And so I have a 3-year-old daughter also, all from the same wife. And we're on a walk. And there's this cornfield on the trail. And so Riley wanted to go inside of it. Okay. And so she kind of backs up and she goes into the corn. And as the corn's kind of wrapping around her, I took a picture of her. It is a Children of the Corn thing. And the way she's smiling is just so kind of creepy-ish. And she's a happy, lovely child. But I mean, it was just kind of creepy. So I snapped it and I sent it to my 20-year-old daughter. And she's like, get her out now, get away. I mean, she was like freaking, she called and said that, Get her the hell out of that cornfield right now. Otherwise, I'm coming up there. It's like, me and my wife are just laughing because we don't buy into any of that crap. And it's like, she came out talking about he who walks behind the rose. What's that all about?
That's awesome. She called you guys Outlanders for some reason.
Yeah, it's really weird. I mean, it was, the beautiful glow. Her, she has blue eyes and they're kind of reddish now. I don't know what the hell's going on, but
it happens. That's what the corn does to you.
Yeah, the corn. But I mean, just fun stuff like that. I mean, there's a lot of places that in Wisconsin that are dutifully haunted, trails and stuff like that are fun to go down. But cool. I'm hoping this summer I get to do some more of that.
That would be nice. I didn't get to do really anything this past Halloween. I mean, we did a drive-through. So usually there's this really great haunt here on Long Island called Spooky Walk. It's at a camp for children with special needs, and all of the money goes to the camp. Everything that they raise goes to like 100%, and they always do a really great job. It's a huge camp. It's an enormous facility, and it gets very intense there. They did a drive-through one this year, and it was terrifying. Like, there were dudes trying to get in the car. This one guy was like, "If your doors are unlocked, I am coming in." Like, he literally said. It was really spectacular. And I actually became chummy with one of the guys who was working it this year. And, so like experiencing it that way was different. Because usually I like going to these things. Like, I love these things. I used to put them on for charity with my dad. When I was a kid. We used to build one on our front lawn. And we would raise money for like juvenile cancer research, the childhood diabetes. We did the 9/11 fund one year. It's just a lot of fun, and it's cool to get scared. It's our most primal instinct. I always tell my fiance that when I scare her, I like jump out of something and scare her. All the time.
It is. And one of the things I think is kind of interesting about you, in that primordial yearning to be scared, is that you have a publishing house that deals with horror.
Yes.
Let's talk about that a little bit.
Sure. Yeah, Spooky House Press. I created that because I wanted to give other authors an opportunity to see their stuff published. It's not easy to be published, and especially if you're, an indie author, and people sometimes, you just don't know like how to make a book happen. So like once I educated myself, I wanted to start, supporting other authors and giving them a voice. And thankfully, one of our first collections that we published has won 2 awards. It's a spectacular book. It's called Boarded Windows, Dead Leaves. And it's by Michael Jess Alexander, who is a heartbreakingly brilliant author from, I want to say, Wyoming, Midwest guy. And he is awesome. He's so sweet. He's an English teacher like me. And now we're working on an art book by an amazingly funny and talented writer. Her name is Alexis Macaluso. And so we're just trying to do a lot of different things. Horror is our main thing that we want to do, but we want to branch out. We would like to do poetry collections. We would like to do art books, and really whatever speaks to me and our in-house editor.
So when you talk about poetry, you're talking, I mean, are you trying to keep that darkness that you've kind of set with everything else, or are you willing to go love and flowers?
We can go love and flowers. I don't have a problem with that. I've been thinking of sort of spinning off an imprint to kind of do some of our more comedic stuff or poetry stuff. And I don't know. I think branching out and doing a wide variety of things is key. But I do, like, my heart does stay with horror all the time. Okay. Like, that's what I really, really, really want to do. We're in the very, very early planning stages of doing an anthology of a bunch of different authors. We have not opened for submissions to that yet, but it's something that we would like to do, and just kind of have fun with that as well. But I created Spooky House to give other people a platform. I'm very lucky that my nephew, when he was very little, gave me the name, and I've had it for years. And because I have this, like, I built it with my mom when I was very little. It's a dollhouse that we turned into a haunted house. So it's like all
Okay.
spooky and it's got all this cool stuff. And my nephew looked at it when he was like 2 or 3, and he was like, "Spooky house?" And I was like, "Oh, that's really good."
Yeah.
It was like an aha thing. So when the time came to make my own publishing company, I had to call it Spooky House.
Sure. Very cool. Very cool. So what's the process look like? I mean, do you guys actively go out and try and find authors, or do you work off of the anthologies and then work authors from there? I mean, what do you guys do?
In terms of the anthology that I would like to put together, I have a bunch of authors in mind that I want to use, and I'm keeping 3 spots reserved for some heavy hitters who I would love to get in the collection. But I have a bunch of spots already reserved for people that I know in the writing community that I think deserve more attention. But overall, we've just received submissions. We've never actively gone out and looked for authors or anything. People have just been kind enough to send us stuff, and I take forever to read. Like, I'm an impossibly slow reader.
Mhm.
So, I feel bad that I haven't gotten through the 8 or 10 different submissions we've gotten in the past month and a half, but it's a slow process.
So when you guys take a book from an author, are you guys kind of like a vanity publisher where they have to front some money, or do you take a hold of that and then once once you start making a net profit, split that with the author? Is that, I mean, how does that work with you?
I don't believe in the author having to pay for anything. So we have 2
Attaboy.
contract structures that we've worked with. One of them we've never used, but we have it if that's something the author wants to do. I have just bought the rights to the book from the author. So I
Okay.
pay them, and then that they come back into play when it comes time to promote. I like to work with them on the cover. Obviously it's their book. I want them to be happy.
Mhm.
If there are any edits that we really need to do, if there's, a little back and forth with that, that's fine too. But we also have a percentage structure contract, which is really big in indie publishing now. Ours, I think, is better than others, but we have yet to do the percentage-based contract with anybody.
Okay.
Um, I think a percentage-based contract is a headache because, like, I'm not a math guy, and for me to be like, "Oh yeah, you get X percent after we've made the cost of the book back," that seems really shitty to
Yeah.
me. Like, I personally would never accept that as an author, so like I wouldn't want anybody else to, especially with my company. But
Sure.
yeah, I just buy. If something really comes, and really impresses me, like the book that we put out, Boarded Windows, Dead Leaves,
Mhm.
that spoke to me on like every level, and
Cool.
I loved it, so I wanted to buy it.
Cool. I think I mean, that gives you in my opinion, an air of honesty, as far as, I'll buy the book, I'll promote it, and, blah, blah, blah. And I'll pay you some cash.
Yeah,
And, I appreciate that. I get a little angry at some of there's a publisher in England that is, I'm not going to name them, but if anybody says, "Hey, pay me $10,000, I will publish you," go read Amazon's FAQs on how to publish yourself. Do
yeah,
not pay anybody. Yeah, I mean, you can pay people to do stuff for you if it's reasonable. I mean, you go to Fiverr, you can go to Upwork and have people, actually hire people to do work for you.
yeah.
But don't pay somebody $10,000 because they ain't going to give you shit. And what you're going to give them is 10,000 bucks to do something that's virtually free, and you still have to advertise your stuff, which is the big cost of a book.
Yeah, and that's
you know
why even the big 5 or the big 4 or whatever, like, they don't spend a ton of money on marketing anymore. First of all, book tours aren't happening because everything's closed. So like,
right.
authors have to market themselves anyway. So for me, um, yeah, I put marketing dough behind a book, but I do a lot of, so like the way I support, like you mentioned earlier, I'm a teacher, right? Like, that's my salary. That's blah, 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 blah. It's how I'm going to buy a house. It's how I'm going to pay
Right.
for a wedding, all this
Right.
nonsense,
Yeah.
right? So I do a lot of readings for libraries. I do a lot of things, with the sales of the books that we've put out. All of that money, all of the readings that I do, all of the programs that I put on for different organizations that do pay authors to do these things, all of that money goes into the publishing end of things. So this past, when my book, Her Infernal Name and Other Nightmares, came out at the end of September, I had 10 or 12 speaking engagements booked from the end of September to the second week of November. So all of that time I had stuff going on, and every penny of those engagements went back into the company, because how are we gonna keep supporting what we want to do if I'm not actively out doing these things? And like, yeah, this is promotion for my book, but it's also promotion for other authors, because without doing these things, we won't have the money to get bigger authors, to pay bigger advances and stuff like that.
Right.
So, you just have to be willing to spend the time and money to make money. Like, I know it's like kind of a corny thing to say, like, you got to spend money to make money, but it's true.
It's very true. It's very true, especially in the book business. If you don't advertise, you can take time off from advertising and see what happens. I play those games with mine, but realistically, you are going to make a marginal amount of profit if you do your advertising right. But if you don't advertise, you're not going to get the book sales or the KU reads, or however you have things set up. But the one thing that that went through my mind as you were talking, and I do so miss Barnes and Noble. I haven't been to one in probably a year. It's been over a year. I think it was last Christmas. Just because, with life the way it is and everything else. But, I used to, just to decompress sometimes, just walk through a Barnes and Noble and just start going through and, oh, look, so-and-so has this book out, be able to thumb through it, grab a coffee and, spend an hour.
Yeah.
And just get lost in a bookstore. And I think that's something that's sad that's going away.
I was very lucky when my book came out. Our local Barnes and Noble called me up, and they had me come in and sign a bunch that they put on the shelves. And it was really cool. It was a really cool experience, and they've been wonderfully supportive. All the Barnes and Nobles here have been really warm and supportive of my book. And so like, I still go. I've gone. I actually went this past week. I went to Barnes and Noble this past week and picked up a book that I had my eye on for a little while. But
if you publish your paperback with them, if you publish both your paperback and your ebook with them, you can actually walk into a Barnes and Noble. If nobody in the world even knows you and they've never seen your book, talk to the manager. They have local author signings at every one of these things where they will bring your book in and you can sign it and you can do this, that, and the other thing, and they'll put it on the shelf. Yeah. They're an amazingly, I don't think they get the credit that they deserve, because I think they've done a nice job with a lot of authors that I've talked to that, you walk in, you talk to the manager, and if they can look it up in their system, it's like, yeah, hey, you know what? 6 weeks from now, we have a signing. Come on in. We'll do this thing. You'll be with 4 other authors, but they're all local authors. And, for somebody to just starting off, that's an amazing thing.
My book is on the shelf next to Chuck Palahniuk, the guy who wrote Fight Club.
Yeah.
That's insane to me. I took a picture. I was there, like I said the other day, I just took a picture of it, and I was like, this is so surreal. This is so weird and surreal. Mm-hmm. And, things that authors need to know. A signed book is a sold book. So if you go into a place and they say like, hey, you want to sign for like an hour? Yeah. And if they come in at the end of that hour and say, hey, would you like to sign a bunch more? The answer is yes. Yeah. Because they're going to sell those books. They're going to. So I think like sometimes authors have like this weird thing about like, I'm an introvert and all this stuff, and I write blah, 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 blah. It's like, you can't be like that. If you want to sell books, you can't. Nowadays, you can't be like the wayfish introvert. It doesn't work so much anymore.
I'm trying to think who the author was when he first started out. And he's an indie author. God, I don't know if you've read this story or not. It's funny as hell. He put his paperback out. You know, he's got an ISBN number and everything else, and he bought like 150 paperbacks because he thought that's what he needed to do. You know, he wasn't really. He made a mistake. You know, there's print on demand at that point, but he thought, I need this box of books, and he couldn't get rid of them to save his life. He just couldn't. And he didn't have enough money to advertise himself. So what he did was he signed these books. Okay. And so then, and he traveled around, and he'd take a book, he'd shove it in his coat. He'd walk into a Barnes and Noble, and he'd take that signed book and he would put it on the shelf. And he thought, well, you know, what the heck? But I mean, he was actually, you know, selling through Barnes and Noble on their site. He just, you know, whatever. And since he is registered with that, he actually, the first thing he did is he took the book and he went up to Barnes and Noble, and they scanned it, and it actually came up in their system, and he bought his book. He thought, okay. So he took all these books, he signed them, and started putting them on shelves in Barnes and Nobles just to get rid of them and see if people would buy them. And they did. You know, it was only 150 books, but it's like, you know, it's stuff like that. You think, oh, that's brilliant. Why not do that? You know, I'm sure Barnes and Noble doesn't matter, or doesn't, you know, some bean counters probably going, oh my God, we have an inventory deficit, you know, and
inventory surplus, technically.
Well, surplus, yeah.
So
we're selling books that we didn't buy. Okay, wait a minute.
Ooh, bummer.
Yeah.
They I think about stuff like that, you know, like the guerrilla marketing and how to do certain things. Like for this book, I had a trailer made actually by the woman who's doing the book that we're putting out, Alexis. She made the trailer for my book. I was so happy with it. It's like an animated sampling of the stories. And it's just marketing and like promotion and stuff is literally throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks, like what works, what doesn't. You know, there are certain things I would absolutely do again, and there's things that I for sure would not do again. And you know, it's trial and error. You know, like we don't have marketing teams built into what we do. Like I hired a marketing person for this book, and my whole goal with hiring her was just to learn as much as I possibly could. So in my opinion, it was worth every penny. Did she do as much as I was hoping she would do? No. And in fact, she told me that. She was like, well, you've kind of already done like 85% of the work for me here. And I was like, make the last 15% worth it, I guess. I don't know. But, you know, it was a learning experience. And like I said, spend money to make money.
Somewhat. So let's talk about, I forgot her name. You have a book coming out in March.
Yes, edited by Rebecca Rowland. It's through AM Inc. Publishing. I'm just one of the authors that's fortunate enough to be in that collection. It's called The Half That You See. And I have a story in there called Falling Asleep in the Rain that is sort of like a nod to the Twilight Zone in a lot of ways. I wanted to tell a story about a guy trying to reconnect with his past, and then when he does reconnect with it, immediately regrets it.
That has never happened.
No,
every totally high school reunion ever.
No. But so I'm really excited about that. It's the middle of March that comes out, and there's a lot of really fun things that AM Inc. is doing in promotion of that book. There's like a candle. There's like social media. They're kind of killing it with that, and it's just a lot of fun.
You know, the something I've been playing with for both this podcast and also my publishing is all these print on demand things like coffee cups and shirts, and you know, all these different companies that have popped up in the last few years where you can actually do a lot of merchandising with very little out of pocket and create a store on a website. I mean, you have to put some cash out to get the store up and get the programming done and everything else, but you can put out some pretty cool merchandise fairly quickly.
Yeah. And I did bookmarks for my first book that I put out, and that was fun. I sneak them in when, I have, somebody looking to review my book or whatever, and I send something out. Like I put a little bookmark in there, and it always ends up in a really pretty picture that gets a few thousand likes and hopefully moves some books. But yeah, making the stuff is a lot of fun, I find, and finding ways to promote that stuff is a lot of fun too.
Really is, and it's not bad to have some swag for people that order. Yeah, I don't know what, you can go to a website and order a signed copy, and get a bookmark, get a map, get a get a T-shirt, whatever, and you get these packages, and it's kind of cool to throw that stuff together. I just actually started working on this probably about 2 months ago for what I'm doing, and I haven't actually successfully put anything out yet, but I've got lots of ideas. But I
Yeah,
mean,
that's awesome.
it's really cool. The nice thing about it is that I don't have, I've got all the time in the world, so when it gets out, it gets out. I really don't care.
Yeah,
But
and it's low, like you said, it's low investment, low overhead at first, and
yeah,
you're learning. That's the cool part.
unless it's costing me $100 a month, $200 a month, then it's like, psh, what do I care?
Right.
But so what else you got going on?
I have a few stories coming out in different collections this year. I have one in a collection called Hollywood Holocaust, which is the intention was to take celebrities to task, and I wrote a story where my two celebrities do not die. So I don't know if I did it right, but they seem to like my story, so I have that. I had to change their names a little bit, so I was super creative and I changed one letter in their names. So like, cool, not my problem. Um, so I have that. I have there's another collection coming out called Unburied, which is a anthology about it's an LGBTQ plus anthology where a lot of the concept behind it is, back in the day, artists would, they would bury your gaze was like kind of a phrase. So this one is unburying and putting that concept right there on the page for you. So I have a story in there that I'm very proud of. And I just started working on my first full-length horror novel. I wanted to start it around Christmas time, but life got in the way. And so I'm starting it a couple months late, but I'm working on that right now.
Okay. Very cool. Very cool. So you've got that, you've got the publishing, you've got the book coming out in March, and you also were talking about that art book that you're going to be putting out, which is completely, it's not horror, it's just something else you're getting into. Do you want to talk about that a little bit, or?
Yeah, the author is brilliantly funny. Her name is Alexis Macaluso. You can find her on Instagram. Definitely follow her. She is hysterical. She's based out of Michigan, and her artwork is so funny, and her sense of humor is insanely sharp. So we're very lucky to be able to work with her on this. We don't have a frame as to when it's coming out, but and I don't want to say like exactly what it is, but let's just say she's pulling humor from everyday slices of life and putting a very absurdist lens on perfectly normal oddities that you would see every day, whether online or in person.
Huh. That sounds very interesting.
Yeah, it's very. She's been, I've seen some pages already, and every time she shows me something, I laugh. I laugh hysterically. So at the very least, I'm going to like it, which is, you know what? It's my publishing company, so I can do whatever I want.
I was going to say,
if I'm the only one
pretty
who's
important?
yeah, like I want to put out stuff I believe in, and I believe in her sense of humor, and I believe in her art, and such a funny woman.
What's her last name again?
Macaluso, Macaluso.
All right, I want to look her up.
Oh, she's hysterical. Anybody who looks her up, anybody who looks at some of they do her group, they're called Night Waves on YouTube. If you look up their horror videos, they do these little stories, little tales that they animate, and they're all excellent. You'll see a little bit of her art style, and it's awesome. Some of the spooky stories are great, but her sense of humor is right there. And I think you find horror and comedy usually go really well together.
Hmm. Yes, horror and comedy goes together great.
Yeah.
It really does, because you you build up the tension and you got that fear and everything, and then you just kind of release it real quick, and then it allows you to hit that roller coaster really well.
Yeah. That's why we all laugh when we go through haunted houses and stuff and on haunted hayrides. Like it's that tension relief, you know?
Yeah, I think that when you look at a really serious like a movie like Saw, where it just you're so riveted by the end of the movie, you need to release somewhere, versus well, let's say Zombieland. There's something that's probably got more comedy than horror in it, but still,
Oh yeah.
you know.
Yeah, and I watch a lot of horror movies and stuff, and my fiance likes like some of the so bad it's good type
Mhm.
horror stuff that we do just laugh at. Like there's this one movie she loves called Horror House on Highway 5. It is awful and so stupid, but it's so good.
Yeah.
It's just like chef's kiss. It's so good, but it's like very ridiculous, and that's about the extent of where I go. Like I don't like to me, my favorite era of horror is the 70s, right? So like I watched a lot of those movies and I'm just like, oh, this stuff is so good. It's just so um but I some of my students will be like, "Oh, Mr. O, I watched the original Exorcist over the weekend. It was so hilarious." And I'm just like, oh, it's like why? Like why? Don't even bother. It's
Yeah.
just when people are laughing, it's something that's so genuinely terrifying. And really, if you think of the implications of why that movie is scary,
Right.
because literally it proves God and the devil are real. Like that's just two terrifying concepts. If you ignore that and you just laugh at it because it looks kind of, that those Dick Smith special effects, they were great at the time. They're still, to me, they're still great now. But
Yep.
I can understand kids raised by CGI not quite going to look so good to them.
Well, yeah, are they, like you said, are they really getting into it? Are they
No,
really getting into the plot, or are they just looking at for the visual effects?
I've never had oh, that's not true. I've had students, mostly middle school students, who can watch something objectively and be like, wow, that was really scary, or that was really cool, or that was really interesting. And they don't focus on like how it looks,
Right.
you know? But then, the older they get, they lose a little bit of that suspension of disbelief the older you get. And I've had high schoolers come up to me and be like, "Oh, Mr. O, I watched Jaws and that shark looks so fake." And
Hmm.
I'm like, what? Like, how do you think that it's like that looks fake to you, but you watch Deep Blue Sea and you think that looks great?
Right.
Come on.
That's really funny. That's exactly what popped into my head. Was
Weird, right?
Yeah. I mean,
I met Spielberg, and somebody in the crowd was like, it was a little child too. It was actually really cute. This little kid was like, "Mr. Spielberg, how did you get the shark to look so real?" And it was a little kid seeing Jaws for the first time on the big screen.
yeah.
And Spielberg literally was like, "That is the sweetest thing that anyone has ever said." Like he's like, "I'm glad that you think it looks real and that it looked like a real shark to you."
Yep.
And it's like, you know what? Like it does look like a real shark. God damn it! Like that
It,
shark looks real.
it does, especially when in my mind, the worst part of that movie, or the best part, whatever you want, is where the back of the ship, or the boat gets
Hmm.
ripped off,
And it
and
jumps up.
he jumps up. Yeah, I mean, it's just like, that was completely just, oh my God, that thing's huge. And yeah, I mean, you knew it was a big shark,
Yeah.
but at that point you actually see what this thing is and what a terror it was. And it's just like, oh God.
And what the funniest part of that is too? People were like, "Oh, sharks, they don't jump out. Great white sharks don't jump out of the water." And then now we know, no, those motherfuckers breach the water constantly to kill
Yes.
things. So
Yes.
that's not totally out of the question that a shark could do that. But at the time, it's like, oh, that's silly. It's like, cool. It's the number one movie and arguably the greatest horror movie, still the best summer blockbuster that's ever been made. So cool. Say what you want about it. It's still literally one of the 3 greatest movies ever produced.
The thing that really bothered me about the movie is the mayor.
Yeah, but how realistic is he? Hi, that's literally the governor of New York right now. It was the president that we just had. It's what's happening. It's literally, coronavirus has shown us that there are more Mayor Vaughns than we ever thought possible, because they're everywhere.
They are.
Look at what happened literally at the Jersey Shore this summer. It was a super spreader event. Nobody stopped it.
Yep.
You know, somebody's ringing the dinner bell on the 4th of July.
Well, you know, you do have to get those tourist dollars in, no matter what the cost.
It's a summer community. We rely on summer dollars.
Yep.
Ante up or you'll be on welfare all winter.
Pretty much.
We're just quoting the whole end of the podcast is just going to be us quoting Jaws now.
Oh, shoot.
I'm fine with.
Well, you know, the nice thing is if you move to Minnesota, yeah, they don't rely on summer dollars there.
That's true. That's very true. But yeah, so I think it's important, you know, for people to really be able to look at things, whether it's comedy or horror, in an objective way. Now that, you know, if we need to end that part on a profound note.
There's nothing profound here.
Yeah,
we really try not to end on profound notes. we you know, this isn't about thinking. This is about you know, just getting to kind of know you. So, you know,
fair enough.
You know, if you're profound, then we can end on a profound note.
I'll take it.
You'll take it.
I've been called worse.
Very cool. Is there anything else you want to tell anybody about your publishing company or your books coming out or anything else as far as your fans go and everything?
If you're interested in learning more about what we do at Spooky House Press, you can head over to spookyhousepress.com and just click around. If you want to send a message, you can. If you're interested in getting in touch or seeing what I'm up to, you can follow me on Instagram. I use Instagram the most. I'm not like a big Twitter guy. I made fun of Ted Cruz yesterday on Twitter. That's literally the first tweet I've sent in months. But I can be found on Instagram at Robert Ottone, ROBERTOTTONE.
You know, I saw something I thought was actually brilliant about Ted Cruz the other day. There are specifically 2 groups in the United States. There's people that hate Ted Cruz and Ted Cruz.
Can you imagine? I have to say this. Can you imagine being such a bootlicker that a guy calls your wife ugly and you're just like, whatever you say, boss?
I have never, you know, Ted Cruz is one of those people I don't get. And I really don't, because I mean, there's people in that election that had some horrible things said about them, and they, you know, and they went back and they said the same. Yeah, I mean, they attacked.
Yeah,
Ted Cruz, absolutely. You know, just once he was done, he just bent over.
Yeah,
you know, there's other people like, I'm never talking to him again. You know, there's people that jumped out of politics after that, saying, "Fuck this, I'm not getting involved in this." You know,
did I tell you I met him?
Ted Cruz?
Yeah, did I mention that before before we started? So I met him in DC. I used to work for a mortgage magazine. Talk about dealing with the devil. But I used to work for a mortgage magazine, and we had to go to DC, and I was hanging out with a bunch of Texas good old boys. Nice guys, knew how to drink and party, that's for sure. And we were going around and lobbying. Like I was a reporter following them on their lobbying thing.
Okay.
And I met Elizabeth Warren, who was super cool, super nice. Met John Kerry, who brought nothing to the table. It was like dead behind the eyes. And Ted Cruz saw these guys, and they all got like all hot. They're all, "Oh my God, it's Ted Cruz, man." That's my bad, Texas. I'm sorry. That's like McConaughey. But like they all got like really hot and bothered because we were in like the tunnels underneath these, because there's all these tunnels that connect all the buildings in DC. And we were down there, and Ted Cruz was like, "Oh my God, my guys, Texas, blah, 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 blah." And he's shaking all their hands. And then he comes to me and he's like, "Where are you from?" Thinking that I'm also from Texas. I'm like, "I'm from New York." And he was just like, "Ugh." and in my head, I was like, "Cool, my state probably financially supports yours. So
right.
Sorry." He was a dick. He was a dick.
Oh, that surprises the hell out of me. I just, the sense I get about him just from what I see is that it's just, he's a weather vane.
Yep.
Wherever the wind's blowing, I'm going to point this way, and it just,
it would be so much more interesting.
I have a lot of respect for anybody in politics that stays the course. If you believe something, okay, whether it be right, wrong, or indifferent, this is how I think, this is what I believe, and you're passionate about it. Damn it. Okay. You know what? You have my respect.
Yeah.
Whether I agree with you or not, if you're going to be, solid on that, him, and a lot of politicians, if you're going to bend all over the place, I mean, I like Rand Paul just because he doesn't worry too much. I mean, he wavers a little bit, and that kind of makes me sick. But on the most part, I think that he has, I like his dad better, but,
I think it would be so much more interesting if Ted Cruz actually was a Zodiac killer. It would just, like, we're at a point where if the Zodiac is still alive, he's going to come out and be like, yo, I'm the Zodiac killer. I'm not that piece of shit. So
that's good. You can actually write that in a fiction book and it probably would sell.
It's true. That's very true. I'm gonna write that one down.
Good idea. Yeah, get that one locked up, will you?
Trademarking it right now.
Movie rights and everything else. Hey, you know what? It's been an absolute pleasure, Robert. I've had a lot of fun. If you do happen to make it up here in the Midwest, definitely I want to take you some places.
Hell yeah, man. I'm down. As soon as we're allowed to travel and go to places, hell yeah.
Yeah. Whenever that is, 5 years from now, you know what, you and me, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely. But no, I appreciate you having me on. It's awesome. I had a good time.
Yeah,
had a good time chatting.
I did too. Well, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and call this to a close because we're running up on an hour here real quick. But I usually close with, this is Jeff with the DIY Writer. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope you all have a great day and keep your chin up. And don't forget to subscribe to me. But if you don't, that's okay. My feelings aren't hurt. Just listen every now and then. But other than that, y'all have a great day. Bye-bye.
Please hit the subscribe button. I get a bonus for every subscriber, and I only need 1,506 more to become a full-time paid employee. Help me, please.